Like a river flows surely to.
It was a hot June morning in 1975. Memphis skies blue yet heavy with heat. Along Union Avenue, cars glittered in sunlight. Dealership speakers blared rock music to lure passers-by. Amid the bustle, a middle-aged woman stopped outside the Cadillac showroom. She wore a faded dress, carried a small paper bag, and her eyes glistened as she gazed at a pink Cadillac displayed in the center. She didn't step inside. She only lingered by the glass. Hands gripping the bag's handles, her sun-worn face carried weary lines, but her eyes fixed on that gleaming car sparkled like a child's eyes at a toy shop window. A brief smile flickered. Then she lowered her gaze and turned to leave, as if knowing the dream was not hers to claim. Just then, an engine roared. A sleek black limousine pulled up. The door opened, and Elvis Presley stepped out. White suit, simple. Sunglasses masking half his face. Yet the aura unmistakable. The woman froze. She had never imagined seeing Elvis on an ordinary street, but Elvis noticed her eyes, the kind that didn't scream with fandom. It was the look of someone who had touched a dream only to let it go, convinced it would never be hers. He paused, removed his glasses, and stepped closer. "Do you like that car?" he asked. Voice warm, as if speaking to a friend. The woman flushed. Flüsteret. She shook her head quickly, then shyly nodded, like a child caught peeking at a forbidden cake. Elvis smiled, gently, unmistakably kind. He turned to the dealership clerk and pointed at the pink Cadillac. "I'll take it. It's hers." For a heartbeat? She thought she misheard. But Elvis gaze karid no jest. The clerk hurried forward. The street seemed to skip a beat. The woman covered her mouth as tears welled up. On an ordinary day, amid traffic and noise, a miracle descended. It wasn't just a gift, it was the moment a stranger's dream became real, because an unexpected hand chose to reach out. Whispers swept down the street like a sudden breeze. Shopkeepers, passers-by, even drivers halted at the red light turned their heads. They saw Elvis Presley standing there, smiling gently, and a simple woman suddenly become the centerpiece of a dream. The woman recoiled, waving her hands in shock. "No, I can't accept this." But Elvis rested a warm hand on her shoulder. "You can, and you should. This car was meant for you." His voice was low, firm, leaving no room for refusal. The dealership clerk hurried out with papers. A small handwritten sign was placed on the windshield, "Sold, new owner, a friend of Elvis." The crowd clapped, cheered, and at that moment, the woman broke down, tears spilling over her cheeks and onto her calloused hands. She could not believe a legend would pause his life for such a tender act. Elvis drew a pen from his pocket, signed the dashboard, and handed her the keys. "Drive it like you're driving your dream," he said. Her hands trembled as she took them, her eyes filled with bewilderment, gratitude, and a joy she had not felt in years. A boy in the crowd shouted, "Elvis is an angel." The cry rippled outward, swelling into a wave of applause. The woman lifted her hand to wave, her shoulders still trembling, but her smile shone like the sun. She slid into the driver's seat, overwhelmed by the rich scent of new leather, the sweetness of pink wrapping around her. When the engine roared alive, it sounded like the overture of a new chapter. The crowd flanked both sides of the street, cheering her on as if sending off a queen. Elvis stood still, hands in pockets, smiling softly, his eyes quietly following. In that instant, he was not the king of rock and roll, but a man who had found joy in making someone else happy. The story spread quickly. People retold it, how a stranger was gifted a pink Cadillac. No cameras, no headlines, just word of mouth and the hearts of those who had seen it. It was the moment a miracle began to ripple outward from one glance, one tear, one smile, into a human melody. Memphis would never forget. The pink Cadillac rolled away from Union Avenue, leaving behind cheers echoing through the breeze. The woman sat behind the wheel, hands trembling, eyes blurred with tears. Unable to believe it was real, she had never owned a car. Once, she had only walked to the factory and back home through smoggy evenings. Yet now, she was driving a dream in bright pink. In the first days, she hardly dared to leave it. Each morning, she would open the small garage, sit in the driver's seat, touch the wheel, breathe in the new leather scent, and sit still as if afraid the happiness would vanish. Neighborhood children crowded around, shouting Mrs. Mary's car, the pink car. She laughed for the first time in years, a smile that reached her eyes. The Cadillac was not just a gift, it was a doorway to another life. Because of it, she gained a new job at an upscale tailor shop downtown, a place she could never reach on time before. Each morning she drove under leafy streets, her simple dress unchanged, but her gaze now lit with confidence. Colleagues marveled. Neighbors admired, but she only said softly, it was a gift of kindness. On weekend afternoons, she took children from the neighborhood for rides. Their young faces filled the pink cabin with laughter. One boy whispered, "I never thought I'd sit in a car this beautiful." She gripped the wheel tighter. Joy swelling her car wasn't just changing her life, it was planting dreams in younger hearts. Whenever she parked at the grocery store, heads turned. Yet what she cherished most was not admiration, but the memory of that fateful morning, Elvis removing his sunglasses, looking at her with gentle eyes, saying, "This car was meant for you." Sometimes she still cried, not from sadness, but from knowing that out there, amid the noise of the world, miracles still dropped quietly just to light up an ordinary life. And for her, that pink wasn't only on the car's body, it lived on in every step she took, in every look of compassion she now offered to others. Time passed, and the pink Cadillac became a symbol of the neighborhood. But its true value wasn't in its dazzling paint, it was in the quiet transformation inside Mary's heart. She often thought, if Elvis could give so effortlessly, why can't I do something, however small, for someone else? One autumn afternoon, she noticed her neighbor boy Jimmy walking home with torn shoes, heels split wide. She pulled over and offered him a ride. Along the way, she learned he had quit school to help his mother work. The next morning, she left a new pair of shoes at his doorstep with a note. "Someone once gave me a dream. Now it's my turn to pass one to you." Soon after, Mary began driving elderly neighbors to markets and doctor's appointments in the pink car. For her, every trip wasn't just transportation, it was a way to multiply the gift she had received. Younger women at the tailor shop looked at her differently now, not just a diligent co-worker, but a living inspiration. Gradually, the chain of grace spread. A family she helped with medicine bills started cooking meals for the homeless. Jimmy, after receiving those shoes, grew into a young man devoted to helping poor children. People whispered, "It's the miracle of the pink Cadillac." But Mary knew better. The car was only the beginning. The real miracle was how kindness rippled from heart to heart. Years later, with silver hair, Mary still kept the Cadillac's keys in her bedside drawer. Each time she opened it, she remembered Elvis removing his sunglasses, his gentle eyes placing trust in her hands. And she understood the car had carried her not just across streets, but had carried a message farther. Still, kindness never stops with the first person. Years later, the pink Cadillac rested quietly under an old tree in the yard of a small Memphis home. Its paint had faded, its leather cracked, yet every scratch carried the record of kindness. Mary sat on her porch, eyes closed, listening to the wind through the branches. She didn't drive much anymore, but whenever her gaze fell on the Cadillac, her heart filled with one warm memory: that fateful morning, the gentle smile, and Elvis's words. "This car was meant for you," they say. Before she passed, she told her children, "Keep this car, not for its value, but because it proves kindness can change a life. And if you can, let it keep carrying its pink light to others." Some gifts never grow old, because their worth is not in metal or leather, but in the human echo they leave behind. In the summer of 1975, Elvis Presley paused, removed his sunglasses, and handed away a dream. From that moment, a pink Cadillac carried not just a woman through Memphis streets, but carried kindness farther, threading through generations. And perhaps each of us has our own pink Cadillac to give an act of kindness. A smile, an outstretched hand enough to light up an ordinary life. Beyond the stage lights, that is the quiet, eternal legacy of the king of rock and roll. Some moments seem small, yet carry the power to change an entire life. The pink Cadillac Elvis gave to a stranger was more than a car. It was a seed of kindness, sprouting into a chain of grace passed through generations. You've been watching Behind the Limelight. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like. Share it with those who love music and human stories. And don't forget to subscribe to join us in uncovering the untold tales of legends. And if you'd like to help keep this light of memory burning, press the super thanks button below. Every gesture you make is like another pink Cadillac, spreading kindness and keeping the legend's light alive forever.